Now let's see some more benefits of using page factory, as in whenever we need to find multiple elements on the page, or let's say there are some additional page factory annotations. Something, let's say I need to find elements in a chain, like elements within elements. There's something called as find by, something called as at the rate find all, right? So these are some more annotations that can be used while working with page factories, right? And even when you need to find multiple elements, let's say if I talk about one of the tests, let's say before I search for flights, I want to check whether there are 6 tabs available over here or not as per the specifications, right? So how to find multiple elements, how to find the count of these tabs? We can first inspect these elements, and let's say this has got a class as icon flights. Properly, this is not the one that we should look for. Yeah. So here the class, the role is tab over here, right? And anything else that should be common in all these tabs, again the role is tab over here. So if I say if I find the CSS, it would be something like anchor role equal to tab. So it shows 6 elements, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6. So probably this is what we need to assert, whether there are 6 elements over here or not. And what I'll do, this is like a home page, so I'll go to my home page locators, and I'm gonna write one locator where I'll say at the rate find by, right, CSS equal to, and I'll get the CSS there. So this will be finding multiple elements, right? 6 elements. And for storing multiple elements, we need a list. So list will be created like this. List of a web element, and I'll name it as tab count, right? And how we're going to use it? I'm going to go to home page, and in home page, let's say I'm going to create a method which should return a numeric value when I say count find tab count, and this should actually going to return me home dot tab count, the list dot size. I'm going to get the size of this list. So if the size of the list is equal to my expected value, then the test should pass, otherwise the test should fail. Now how are we going to use it? I'll go to my flight search test, and this is my flight search test. And let's say before entering details, I'm going to do one assert over here. Well, I'll be saying assert dot assert equals, right? I'm going to use equals, and the actual should actually going to come from home dot tab count, find tab count, the method that we have created, and the expected is 6, let's say, right? So I'm hard coding it right now. We can read it from the Excel sheet, and I'll not going to use it over here. I'll be using it in the test cases, right? So let's run just this flight search test and see if this works or not. And let's see. It's probably got stuck somewhere. There's a failure. What's the failure? Assertion error. Assertion error expected 6 but found 6. Oh, that there should not be any assertion error over here. Oh, okay, okay, okay. This is a numeric value, right? So I've given it in a string format. Now let's run this because we are comparing two int values, two numeric values, right? So expected and actual should be in numbers. Still, it didn't work. And let's see. Oh, it says it found 0. That's strange. So after navigating to home page, you're finding the elements and it's saying it found 0. Initially, it did find, it didn't find 6. Yes, it did work now. Right, and it will now search for the flights. So yes, there are no failures now. This is as per expected. If I give a number 7 over here, so this should now fail the test. So now there should be an assertion failure. And if you look over here, it failed. And the failure should be expected 7 but found 6. Right, so if these matches, then the test should pass, otherwise the test should fail. Now, if the test fails, you can see if any assertion fails over here, the test breaks here itself, right? Maybe at times it may happen that this is not like a hard assertion, this is a soft assertion. And soft assertions are something, let's say, we are doing only validations, right? Let's say we are comparing the title of this page. The title is not matching. If the title is not matching, the test should not stop in between, rather it should execute the further things as well, right? So similarly over here, let's assume that while we are finding just the tab count and it's just a minor thing if the tab, one more tab is added over here, but we are more concerned about the flight one, right? So if the tab changes to 7 over here, the test will break over here itself, right? We want that the test should not break over here, and we need to report a failure as well. If the test count is if the assertion is not matching, it should actually fail the test but should not stop the execution, right? So what we need to do in this case, we need to implement something called as soft assertion. So soft assertion is how we need to implement it. This is one of the older concept, which if in case you are part of my Selenium course as well, you may have seen how we have used soft assertion over there. In case you're not familiar with soft assertion concept, don't worry about it. What we need to implement is something called as error collectors, right? So I'm gonna take a couple of files from one of my project and gonna explain it to you how we're gonna use it. So soft assertions would be something like this. I'll be copying a package from here that is error collectors, and I'll paste it to this project. So this is error collectors, and this should be com.w2a.error collectors. So while the entire package is not copied, just give me a moment. I'll create the package. So com.w2a.error collectors. Right, and I'll move these two files to error collectors over here. Right, and then delete this package. So what this error collector files contains, it contains some of the assertions over here. So assertions like these are the pre-created method assert true. These are hard assertion. Anything that you directly gonna see with assert are hard assertions, and anything that you see within try and catch. So what it is doing, let's say there's an assertion called as verify true. It is actually assert true, but when there is a failure, it we have actually implemented a try catch block over here. So whenever there is a failure, it should go inside the catch block, and this add verification failure message is actually going to this method is actually going to add the failure in the report. It will not fail the test as we have already handled the exception, but I mean, it will not break the execution as we have already handled the exception, but it will actually gonna add the verification failure message to your test ng report. Right. This is how these methods are being implemented, right? And there is an additional class which actually contains the test-ng listener adapter. So this after annotation method is the one which is actually adding the failure messages to the report. Right. So you need not to worry about this as this is taken by from the test-ng blog itself. So this interface is actually doing this thing, right? And I invoke method listener, right? This is an overridden method of from this interface. So what is happening whenever there is a failure? Let's say you want to implement soft assertion. So one of the assertion that we have done is assert equals, right? And we have used assert equals for numeric object, right? Let's say uh, numeric condition is something like, okay, it's not here, but what I can do, there's a string condition, I can implement one for integer as well. So we'll say int and int. So what happens if I want to do if I want to implement a soft assertion over here while validating one of my tests. Let's say I was checking the tab count. So instead of assert equals, you can use error collector dot verify equals, and actual one will be your home dot find tab count, and the expected one will be like the 7 value, right? So if I run this thing now, this will not gonna work because this is one of the listener which will actually gonna listen to your test, and then once the test is completed, it will gonna add the failure to the report. So in order to invoke this listener, you need to call this error collector class. You need to implement this in one of the listener inside your test in the XML file. So wherever you have defined your listeners, you need to define this class as well over here. So it should be something like this. So class name is com.w2. This is the package. This test listener adapter is the class that this is one of the listener class that you need to implement. Right. The error collector class contains just the methods that we have created. Test listener adapter class, it contains the actual listener, right? So now if you want to run the test, you will not be running it individually from this file. You need to run it from test and xml, otherwise the listener will not gonna invoke. So let's run it. It should actually gonna execute both test, sign in and flight search test. And then in flight search test, we're gonna see if the tab count is not matching, still it will gonna execute the entire flight search test. But we're gonna report the failure as well. So let's see. Okay, looks like some issue. See, the flight search test is being executed. The issue is in the initial test. We're gonna figure out what the issue is. But you can see the flight search test got executed. And if you take a look over here, uh, we got two failures. Forget about the second, like the first one. Let's see what failure is there in the second one. So I'm gonna see the test ng results first. If that thing is added to the test output folder or not. So flight search test, and you can see expected 7 but found 6, and you've seen the entire test got executed as well, right? It didn't break over here. The entire going to destination, checking, checkout, all the things got entered, right? Even the test gets failed. Now we'll figure out why the first test is actually failing. Let me see. Let me figure out that one. So let's run this once more. Let's look at logs as well. Okay, unable to locate some element on the page. Let's see. Header count. Okay, header count sign in button. Okay, let me see. Okay, now it didn't find. Right, now it did work fine. So the first test is executed. And you're gonna see the second test will not gonna break. It will gonna execute as well. But the failure will also be reported. See, the test is being executed entirely. Right. So if you want to break the test in between, let's say if there is any blocker issue, if let's say while searching the client, search button is missing, right? So there's no reason to proceed the test further. So you can use hard assertion directly. You can use assert equals all the assert conditions, and it will gonna break the test in between. So if we take a look at it now, you can see the first test passed, the second test there is a failure over here. Now there's a benefit of using this soft assertion. At times you want to report multiple failures in your one single test. So this soft assertion will gonna do that, right? So how, as in let's say after validating this, I validate with some other data set. Now I'll validate it with number 8, right? So when I run this, and I will validate it with the correct number as well. So we're gonna see with correct, it will gonna work fine. And then we'll have two failures for 7 and 8, right? So this way you can report multiple failures as well. So on a page, if you are finding a less severity issues, like you are targeting something which is not very severe, right, which is not very high priority, you're validating those elements and you want that the test should not break in between, and you have multiple elements to handle in that case. So you can report multiple failures and even the test will not gonna break. So let us see how the multiple failures will gonna work. And the test is executed. Now if I refresh it, you're gonna see inside fight search we have two multiple failures. See, expected 7 found 6, expected 8 found 6. So where we have 6 and 6, that worked fine, and rest two assertion failures are there, right? So this is how, with the help of these soft assertions, these are actually very helpful, right? At times you don't want to break the test in between, you want to report multiple failures, so you should be using this package error collector, and you'll be implementing soft assertions based on this. All right.